You're listening to the Alex Wolf Podcast. Interesting conversations about innovation, economics, culture, and history for the independent thinkers and curious minds. I'm your host, Alex Wolf.
This episode is brought to you by Wethos. Designed specifically for small studio owners, Wethos makes it easy to scale your services up with teams and offer big, meaningful projects to your clients. Price proposals blazingly fast, find new collaborators, and effortlessly manage your budgets and payments all in one place. Set up a virtual studio for free and scope your first project in less than 10 minutes. Join for free at wethos.co. Hey y'all, thank you for tuning into this episode. I'm feeling pretty chill this week. I don't know about y'all. I just feel like every day is a reminder to slow down. Every day we go on social media, it's a reminder to be sensitive to how much information will try to drown your eyes and your ears and your mind. And so what I wanted to talk about this week is how to refine your tastes to get more out of life. But honestly, it's not going to be so much of a how-to as much as it's going to be kind of surrendering to the fact that your tastes are refining whether you try to or not. And the beauty of the taste refining process and how much meaning life has to offer when we are sensitive to that. And this is a topic that came to me last summer. I was sitting in the sun and I would kind of just spend my days, especially when the weather gets warmer. I kind of turn into a different person. You probably do too. And I can just bask in warmth, not necessarily the direct sunlight, but just the beauty of the warm weather. And so I was sitting outside and I just started writing about how grateful I felt for the fact that my taste and just our taste as a species in general refine over time, and how mysterious it is and how enlightening it is and how generous it is of life that our taste can refine. And when I say taste, I am talking about, yes, our taste receptors, like on our tongues, like our taste buds, but also our taste for music, our taste for beauty and art, our taste for different fabric, texture, environments, and how weird but yet beautiful of a cyclical nature tastes have in the span of a life, and how when we are in our youth, like our extreme youth, whether it be childhood or early adolescence, how different our tastes are to when we start to get a taste of that early adulthood, and then how it changes and transforms over time into middle and then later and ultimately like the oldest you can possibly be. And what I was writing about, I have my notes here just as so I can have as a reference. I said that, well, first I was talking about how I had just gotten my hair trimmed and how much I used to dread getting my hair trimmed when I was younger because I really just associated it with loss. And you know, being a young girl, especially young girl with curly hair, it's so hard to like retain your length, especially because there's a whole education process if it's not given to you and how to just maintain your hair for normal health. So it's just a little harder. It's a learning curve if you don't automatically have that education given to you. So when you're getting your hair trimmed, you know, as a younger person, I know a lot of people can relate that when you're trying to have long hair, it feels like you're losing something. And how I used to cringe and I used to beg, like, please don't cut too much, like, blah, blah, blah. And how I was writing about how grateful I was to hear the shears at this point, because I wrote down that youth is dreading watching the dead ends fall, and maturity is feeling an intense sense of relief at the sound of those shears, and just feeling, you know, go as short as you need to. Go as short as you need to keep the health, because you get to a point where you might have been holding on to dead things for so long that you now really see the value of cutting things off. So I was talking about that, and then I was talking about how I said one of the best secrets they don't tell you about getting older is how your tastes refine and they sort of ferment. And what I mean by that is when, you set, onions to pickle, or you turn grape juice into wine, there's a very mysterious process that's happening that requires a unique, special combination of time, usually heat or lack of light, kind of like darkness, right? I was talking about darkness in my last episode, and space and negativity in my last episode, and how fermentation is a really beautiful, mysterious process. There's a great Netflix series called Cooked. Cannot recommend enough. It is like the food version of like my podcast, as far as instead of tech philosophy and tech anthropology, it's food anthropology. And I believe one of the episodes, they kind of break it down into these fundamental ingredients that created, you can't say food, you have to kind of say civilization, right? So one episode is about heat, the other one's about water. I believe the other one's about fermentation and how many civilizations required the knowledge of fermentation to survive, because fermentation is about preservation and it's about metamorphosis. It's about how do we take this fresh good, which usually as a species we are limited to the freshness of an ingredient, meaning once it's spoiled, we're kind of assed out, right? We're kind of out of luck. But the process of fermentation and the science and the technology behind fermentation is a very, in my opinion, sacred human relationship gesture we have with the earth, and it's a special recipe for preservation. And so I see our tastes doing the same thing when we age. It's almost like we bottle our tastes in a little, pickle jar, and it gets sent to the back, and the next thing you know, you look at it again and it's different. Your taste for food, for music, for people, for colors, have changed, and they have kind of bloomed and spread, and it essentially still has this essence that it had when it was fresh slash from who you were as a child, but it's fermented. That's the best way I could put it. So after that, I said, and the same old world opens up to you with colors, textures, flavors that were always there, but now because of your experience, because of the time you've had with your senses, they can be enjoyed with almost an off-guard delight. And this is what I'm hoping can bring some value to you as you are a being in this crazy, chaotic, informational, obsessed world, is sometimes it can feel like the world's played out, in the sense of you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting when you're waking up. You know what you're getting when you're going on your phone. You know what you're going to get when you have to talk to certain people. You know what you get when you're going to go to the grocery store. Sometimes things can feel really predictable, and that can be kind of sad. But what I feel life is generous enough to give us is opportunities to take the same sensors that you've had since you got here, and because of this time has now shaped it to receive and interpret and appreciate, like I was saying, these colors, these textures, these flavors that were always here, but you never they weren't at a point, they weren't refined, they weren't fermented enough to appreciate them. Um, and and when I was trying to explain this, I said, those pickles, those ugly browns and yellows, those haircuts, those clothes, all the stuff that didn't make sense before now have revealed their value through the time. And when I say pickles and ugly browns and yellows, I mean, I'll speak from my experience being a young girl. A young woman's taste, generally speaking, or young girl's taste, she's going to gravitate towards hot pinks and purples and, those types of colors. And she might look at a more mature woman and be like, why is your hair like that? Like, why are you not, glammed up, or what about that color is attractive? But you live enough time to start to see the beauty in colors you never saw the beauty in before. And colors is just one aspect. I said I feel lucky to have had my taste change, that they got rich enough to start dripping from the pot. And this is where we get to the real good stuff, which is my opinion, right? I think that adulthood and maturity is often so demonized. It's so deflected. Like, I feel like the general census of pop culture, millennial pop culture, we are very offended by adulthood. I think we're very disenchanted by it. And I've been there, and I've basked in that, and I've soaked in that, but I've also felt like doing that doesn't really do much for me. Because there has to be something to this. I don't think that adolescence and that super youth stage is all glitz and glam either. It's all about balance and appreciating the dark and light of each phase, and how lucky we are to feel and interpret through our experience the dark and light of each stage, to be able to look at a grandmother and see her maybe as super mysterious. You don't understand why she dresses like that or why she talks like that, and then slowly but surely kind of become that, right? If you're lucky. I think that's always been my kind of concern and confusion. Why do we talk down so much on, on maturity and getting older? You're lucky. The lucky ones are the ones who get to experience that life stage. And granted, you're only lucky if you know how to appreciate it. If you're just going to, have this life experience and be miserable the entire time, then I can see why, you might not appreciate it. But so, yeah, I said this is where we get to the good stuff, the crust of the brownie. I'm a crust of the brownie kind of girl. And I write, you always wondered, why do old people like this stuff? These unsweetened cakes, the smoky air, these old movies. It feels exciting to get it now. It feels like a relief to interpret what once seemed so boring, so awful, can actually be the best. And all I'm here to say is it's a gift for your taste to twist and turn over time, so that it's this reverse effect. It's the same world. It's the same colors and textures and flavors that you've always been exposed to, but it's your being that has changed through experience. And wow, again, how lucky we are to now be able to interpret this same world with different eyes. And I wrote a little story about how I remember being like 5 or 6, and my dad left his coffee cup by his keyboard. My dad, obviously would drink coffee in the morning, still does. And there was enough coffee inside to create a ring on the bottom, and it was a perfect amount for a taste. And I must have been expecting the flavor of the most magical ice cream or something some combination of caramel and chocolate. You know, you look at the coffee, you see the behavior of your parents drinking it, and you're just like, something's in that that's going to taste amazing. And I say, but my face dropped like a sad clown in pure disgust. I was in disbelief that this was the beverage he would so look forward to every morning. And I'll never forget that moment. And I think we all had that same moment too with alcohol and wine. You know, you see your relatives drink them and you expect it to have the most forbidden, like pleasurable taste and that your new mouth can imagine, and you're just brutally disappointed, almost concerned even. Like, were you one of the kids that was like, how are you psychopaths drinking this? Concerned that everyone around you is drinking that, but your tastes acquire, right? And that's what we say. You have to have an acquired taste. Oh, it's so beautiful. It means that you've had to have that time. You've had to, in some ways, desensitize whatever super fresh new receptors you had, so that you know what those kind of burn down, melt down. They kind of get used so much to a point that those basic flavors and things, they don't do it for you anymore. I just googled the official definition of acquire, and it's the first definition is to buy or obtain, but the second is to learn or develop. And I think in this context, it's about developing. So just like our brains develop, your taste, this very mysterious, if you do research on each of the senses, and I highly advise you do because it's so fascinating. You know, you do research on the eyes, on sight, not just the eyes, but on the relationship of sight and light. And this is why I love Edwin Land, who is the founder of Polaroid, because more than I am obsessed with the philosophy of Polaroid and the beauty of the technology of Polaroid, I am obsessed with his brain and how he just was purely fascinated with light and this relationship between color and light, and being able to create technology to obviously create photos, right? So you can go on a whole tangent with eyes, you can go on a whole tangent with your nerve ends and your ability to touch. But let me tell you something. When it comes to your sense of smell, and which is ultimately your sense of taste, because we all know we could not taste anything without our ability to smell, it's the most misunderstood. It's not even misunderstood. We just don't understand. It's the least. That's what I'll say. The least understood sense of all of our senses, which I love. And I'm such an aromatherapy girl. We don't really know how we're smelling things. And if you think about all of our technology, we can pretty much reproduce every type of technology except smell-o-vision, right? That's still stumping us. We still don't know how to do that one. And trust me, we're far off compared to how far we've gotten with everything else. And I've always loved that Alan Watts has a whole little spiel about how much we neglect this beautiful sense of smell and taste, and how the essence of its mystery in itself is enough to just like fall in and just be grateful. Smell is obviously so primal. You think about how much animals you smell, how much the sense of smell is used throughout the animal kingdom in general, and how much it really does influence your mood and your behavior. I don't know what you're smelling right now, but if you become conscious of it, then you'll start to see, I'm more calm when this scent is around. I'm more stressed out when I smell that scent. Scent is the one that is closest link to our memories. Isn't that crazy? You can smell a perfume or a smell or baseball, popcorn or hot dogs, and it just, your brain will just take you right there, unlike anything else can. Isn't that crazy? Okay. So yeah, I was talking about these the coffee and the alcohol, and this beautiful concept of you need an acquired taste. I say they somehow twist and turn over the years, and the next thing you know, those slimy peppers and okra that used to make you cringe now make you drool. They carry the special kick that only a few things can get all the way back. So kind of like those things that after you start to acquire your taste, those special flavors or textures, they hit a spot that the basic flavors can't. And again, we can talk about food, but I think in general in beauty, right? You can open a certain fashion magazine and you can see, the contour of this, it kicks something, it touched something back that I can now appreciate when that thing is stimulated. You get what I'm saying? There's that hilarious, iconic bit that Eddie Murphy does in Raw about him wanting McDonald's and his friends having McDonald's and his mom saying, "We got McDonald's at home," meaning we're going to make some hamburgers at home. And it's hilarious. Please, I'm going to link it because that's how funny it is. Comedy is so great because he's so descriptive, and he basically talks about how his mom, takes up the frying pan and she creates some patties and she throws some onions and a green pepper in it. And he goes, "That don't look like no McDonald's." And that's kind of like this punchline, which is so beautiful, right? This American kid who feels this slight pressure to like eat the cool food, eat the fast food. All the kids are eating the fast food. And you just want the simple fast food to kind of fit in and be cool. And your mom is she's not going to fall for it. She might not have the economic leverage to even be able to afford it. And so she kind of convinces you that there is McDonald's at home. Like that was what was so beautiful about this story. And so you have this image of what the burger should look like because it's been marketed to you. And then he juxtaposes it with this mom's image of her McDonald's burger, which has these slimy onions and peppers that he was like, "That don't look like no McDonald's." And then he ends it with like the visual of putting Wonder Bread on top of the greasy patty and how the Wonder Bread turns into like pink like dough. Which is like disgusting, but like we all had an auntie or a mama or somebody who did that. And it's just it's a horror story compared to, or it's a horrific image, especially when you're a child and you want this very sleek, almost plastic looking like perfection of a sandwich or a hamburger, and you got this mom version. And you don't understand why she would destroy it with the onions and peppers. And then I guess my point of all of this is you get to a point where you need the onions and peppers. You need this extra pizzazz in it to make it something that's gonna satisfy you at this point. It's such a great bit. So I go on to say, they give that kick in the pit of your mouth or maybe your chest. They reawaken your taste buds, remind you that yes, there is still so much more. There's still so much more growing out of the ground to taste. And it hits you in an instant that this must be what grandma was tasting. And then I kind of make fun of people who, I'm sorry, if you're one of these people, we can still be cool, but I kind of go into how I said, then you meet people who are not 5 and 6 and they still squirm at olives or mushrooms. Serving a sauteed onion is as good as dangling a spider in their eyes. When their platter comes out, they pick the crackers with no herbs, the cheese with no spices. And by the time they pick up the sweetest drink available, like the fruit punch or whatever, you confirm there must be nothing you have in common with this person. And what I was trying to say is that from my experience, you can almost tell a lot. You can tell a lot about someone and your ability to relate to them based on their taste. And this, again, spans across the board. This is not just taste in food, it's taste in music, it's taste in style, it's taste in film, it's taste in vacation destinations, right? And so if I'm at a party and I'm seeing that type of person or, dating this kind of person, I'm just like, I've it's been interesting because I do sense a higher compatibility with friends and, just people when we have a similar palate. That's a real thing. I have a great friend, Anna. She probably, I don't know if she listens to this, but, we're good like foodie friends, right? And so we'll just sit down and we like creamy, saucy, spicy food. So that means a lot of Indian. It means a lot of West Indian. And we just know how to sit down and enjoy a meal. Those are the kinds of friends I like. And I really feel like our similar palate has bonded us. There's ways where we're so different, but the palate, I think, has really bonded us, and when we can really connect over the food. So, anyway, let's see. What else was I saying here? I said, what is that? What is it about taste that tells us everything? Or at least makes us think it does? Yeah, it's just so mysterious to me. I think it's one of the largest like forms of generosity for just the human experience. And then I was writing about a time that my mom, this is like one of my earliest memories. I was in preschool and I had the choice of picking a Minnie Mouse fanny pack that was either going to be all black or it was going to have Minnie Mouse's face. And for some reason, as a kid, I just never resonated with Minnie Mouse's face or just characters' faces too much. I felt like the Minnie Mouse with the black silhouette, it was still her iconic silhouette as far as like the Mickey Mouse ears with the bow. And I thought that looked cooler than the one with her face. And I had memories of like my preschool friends making fun of me and being like, why is it black? Like, where is her face? And me being like, bitch, like, you're not fashionable. Like, this is more chic, And I really have that memory being younger. And I think we all have something like that where you have moments where you act on your taste, especially earlier on, and then you take the risk of someone, kind of calling you out and being like, whoa, that doesn't fit in. Like, what the hell are you doing here? And it's like, well, this is what I like, and what I like doesn't always necessarily fit in with what is gonna make me blend in. And we've all had those experiences. And I think they're very defining moments in our lives because from there we kind of have the option of like, is this something I want to continue to do? Do I want to continue to cultivate my taste, or do I feel like I'm losing too much by not being able to fit in with others? So it was just really intense. New York kids, it doesn't matter if they're 4 or 5 years old, they're still going to cut your asses and try to make you feel a type of way. And it's just crazy. So, let me see if there's anything else here I wanted to add. Yeah, I think the last note I have here is just tastes are so weird, but they comfort me because they are proof of the abundance of experience that, we are in some ways entitled to have as humans, right? not only are there all these things to try, so many that you'll never be able to get through, but you yourself change so much that even the things you do try after time can open into a whole different experience after you try it again. After the world has tossed you about and worn you down a bit. And then things taste a little different. I know everybody hates Dr. Seuss right now, and I get it. But I will just say that Green Eggs and Ham, as a child, before I understood the context of the racial issues going on, that's the lesson of that story, right? It's like, I won't eat green eggs and ham. Shit looks nasty. you know, and then you get to a point where where the green eggs and ham is like, oh, this looks good now, because I've lived enough time to understand why this is good now. And hey, maybe pickled stuff still grosses you out. Maybe it's not pickles for you. I know for me, when I was a kid, I hated pickles and onions, and things in that kind of like bitter area. And that, I know that's common, because when we're talking about acquiring tastes, usually when you're a kid, that's what the adults are talking about, those bitter, sourish flavors, olives, vinegars, things like that. And when you're a kid, your palate is, you're just really appreciating sugar, right? Like when you're a kid, you can drink sugar, eat sugar, everything can be super sweet. Whereas then, I remember many times where my mom and my stepdad, they would compliment a dessert by saying, "Oh, it's so good. It's not too sweet. You'll like it. It's not too sweet." I'll be like, "What the hell are you psychopaths talking about? Like, how does that make you want to eat the dessert?" Where now, oh my God, I'm so sensitive to like sweetness. I don't like it. It can ruin something for me if something's too sweet, because the beauty of taste. So I'm hoping that this inspires you to, of course, just be sensitive. That's always my main like message. That's also always what I think can offer us the most meaning. It's not about going out and doing and taking action so much as it's about taking this more receptive approach and saying, wow, like the same old world still has so much to offer. The same old world, these same old memories, these same old books, these same old Hove songs. You go back to them and boom, there's something else. There's something else to offer. Nuts was another one for me. When I was a kid, I hated nuts. Brownies with nuts in them. Why would you do that? You're ruining it. Now, catch me eating a brownie without a nut in it. I freaking love walnuts, almonds in my chocolate. My chocolate, oh my God, you could throw up anything up in my chocolate. Like, you could put, I had these German chocolates that had pepper in it. Oh, hunty, it hit. It hit. I have to find out where to get it again. You can throw anything in my chocolate. I'ma love it, because again, once you start to acquire the taste, then you want this savory sweet combo. You wanna push flavors together. You wanna push textures together. I love to have a little crunch in my salad, in my everything. Like, I'm just like, give me all of it. And it's such an auntie thing. It's such a like, I've been here a little while now, kind of thing. And it makes me just respect and connect and bond and feel I feel my connection with my past, my ancestors, my elders. You know what they say. What do they say? You either die a hero or live long enough to be the villain. In this case, I'm not really talking about like good or evil, but this idea that you either die at a point or you live long enough where you understand the villain, or you understand the enemy, or you understand whatever that negative side is. Again, my last episode, I talked about how we associate negativity with bad things, but negativity is really about, bad is definitely an aspect, but it's more about unknown and darkness. And so you either die in this in that short time where or you live long enough where you understand, you illuminate the darkness that didn't make sense before. So when I was a kid, grandma eating peppers was darkness. I didn't understand it. I'm like, that's nasty. Drinking wine was nasty. Hello, I have a freaking subscription for wine now. So you live long enough, if you're lucky, to become and to illuminate what was dark for you. And the message of this whole episode is like, there's so much more. there's so much more in your life that was once dark that you are lucky to now illuminate through refining your taste, through saying, you know, I never wore this fabric before, now I get it. Or I never went to this type of climate before. Or, it happened to me with coldness. There was a winter where I was so desperate to get outside, and I went outside and I was like, winter is pretty great, which I know for a lot of people is going to sound crazy, but there's certain, the winter can be very refreshing when you go outside and you take a brisk walk and you feel the coolness of the air. And, again, there's all this stuff that you get to illuminate through, now that you've had all this time with this familiarity through these receptors that have been hit a million times, you know how it goes, you know how it tastes, then it twists and it turns. I kind of like envision a curl, like a spiraling, you don't know really which way it's going to go, but that's the exciting part. That, oh wow, I didn't know that flavor was going to pop out, or I didn't know that flavor was going to do so much to complete this. I didn't know that one accessory was going to link all this together. I didn't know that one scent was going to give this what it needs. And I think in the realm of art and design, those are my favorite people. The people with that edge, boy. The people who are not afraid to fringe it a little bit, to ruffle the contour, the people who are not afraid to, I feel like Tracey Ellis Ross has a great acquired taste. People love her and she has the je ne sais quoi, element. And it's because she's obviously a well-cultured woman. She's been around the world. She has a taste that it's so unique. You cannot reproduce it. And her contour, her iconic, the way you imagine her when you do, there's always this little flare of individuality that is irresistible. And that only comes with maturity. That's the beauty, y'all. That's why I'm like, there's cool things to adulthood. There's cool things to letting time pass. There's really amazing things. There's so much more, and I tweeted about how most of our memes, most of these pop culture memes about millennials and adulthood is like, adulthood is basically just sending emails until you die. Adulthood is basically going from charger to charger. Adulthood is basically saying you're going to meet up and you never meet up until you die. And it's like, okay. I get it. Yeah, let's leave the space for the humor. Let's leave the space for the kind of simplistic, nihilistic humor. I get it. Ha ha ha. Okay, I'm a little over it though. That's just me. I'm just a little over that attitude, especially in a time like this. I don't really think we can afford to indulge in that too much, because the reality is, yes, it's framed in the context of humor, but we know that a lot of people really feel a lack of meaning, y'all. So it's like, okay, just so we're clear, there is more. The same thing. I'm telling you, I don't know how much I can emphasize that gift. The same eyes you have, the same dress that is in your closet, the same song, the same something, it can open up. There's always a chance. It's not going to happen all the time. It's not going to happen maybe when you want it to or expect it to, But just know that like everything around you is almost like a little, I picture it like it's like an eggshell, and it can crack open, and just something can come out and amaze you and just give you that moment of like, wow, wow. Y'all want to sit here and mope and complain, and y'all have taste buds? I thought it was so ironic that one of the symptoms of this very, in my opinion, symbolic pandemic, right, is that you lose your sense of taste. I don't know. But if I was, there's definitely room for interpretation on a spiritual level. Like, so you mean to tell me in this sick society, in this lost society, there happens to be a pandemic that locks people in the house so they have no choice but to contemplate life. And one of the side effects is you lose your taste? What makes you appreciate something more than the absence of it? I don't know. I would be terrified if I lost my taste. I had, I have some friends who, they went through that, and I would be losing my shit if apparently you get it back. But that's really depressing. Honey, I need to taste my food. I don't know about y'all. Okay, I need to be able to smell my candles. Okay, that's really mysterious. The one scent that nobody understood, that's the least understood, that's the one that goes away for a lot of people. Moral of this episode: when you remystify, everybody's trying to demystify millennials. Click here. Demystify how to market to Gen Z. Click here. Demystify this and this and that. Remystify. Remystify. Don't mystify to a point, oh, you can't understand it and you're blinding yourself. But there is something really beautiful in incompleteness. And that was the point of my other episode too. There is a concept in Zen called WabiSabi. And it's basically, I have a little definition here, concept. It's an aesthetic and a worldview that focuses on finding beauty within the imperfections of life, and accepting peacefully the cycle of growth and decay. Which, that's a good definition, but hold on, I think I saw one that I liked more. That was talking about, okay, yeah. Nothing lasts, nothing is finished, nothing is perfect. It's, the way Alan Watts described it is, when he was describing some place he was at. I think it was in Japan. And it was like a mountain, and there were steps that were leading up. But the fog was covering up the top of the stairs. So you don't know where the stairs lead. And he was talking about how the beauty of those steps was that you don't know where it leads. And that's some of this essence in WabiSabi, is that, and I made this point earlier too when I was talking about, do your dreams need to be realized in order for you to enjoy them? Because a lot of people, especially American culture, we take what is mystified and we are very uncomfortable with that. And we want to make tangible things that might originally and inherently be intangible. And instead of appreciating the intangibility of it and saying, wow, this is intangible and this is mysterious and it's giving me this space and opportunity to just bask in my imagination and intuition and overall just mystery with life, we say, oh, F that. Open it up, crack it open. What do you got to do? Break it down. Where did the stairs go? I don't know. Get a bulldozer. Call these guys. We got to mine these mountains. We got to da-da-da-da. And we don't realize we do all of that demystifying because we think it's going to give us meaning, but we don't realize it really takes a lot of it away. And there is a delicate balance. I'm sure someone can hear this and be like, what are you saying, Alex? We shouldn't be pursuing science and we shouldn't, do the I didn't say that. Definitely didn't say that. People feel very threatened because people, really, really feel more secure. They get to indulge in this illusion of security when they, bask in demystifying all the time. But I'm like, look at these areas in your life where there is a natural remystification, and I see it nowhere more beautifully than in our tastes. You thought you knew this, you thought you liked this or didn't like this, and look at that. You thought you were never going to eat the green eggs and ham, and here you are. So, I don't know. Some people might hear that and still be like, whatever. But some people might hear that and really take that and live that. So yeah, WabiSabi's dope. Look it up. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate you listening to this podcast. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Alex Wolf Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. And if you aren't already, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. For more resources on innovation, economics, and culture, visit alexwolf.co/newsletter and sign up for my email list. Thanks.